Christmas Eve on the ranch was supposed to be quiet. The kind of quiet where the only sounds are the crackling fire, the wind brushing against the old wooden walls, and Thor, my brown Labrador, snoring softly at my feet while I drank my evening coffee. But that night, the silence broke, and it broke because of him. It started just after sunset. A stillness settled over the land, too perfect, too absolute. The kind of stillness that presses on your chest instead of calming you. I stepped outside to check the sky, pulling my winter coat tighter as the cold slipped under the collar of my blue and white checkered shirt. The air was sharp, the snow was fresh, and the forest looked different. The pines stood darker, heavier, bending under the weight of the snow. Their silhouettes stretched like long shadows across the field, and the moonlight made the woods look deeper than they were, like a doorway to something hidden. Thor stood still on the porch beside me, his brown fur bristling, his breath forming small clouds in the cold. At first, I didn't notice that he wasn't moving, or blinking, or relaxing the way he always did at night. He was staring straight into the tree line like something inside it was staring right back. "Thor," I called softly. No response. He didn't turn, didn't wag his tail, didn't even flick an ear my way. Just stared, frozen but tense, afraid but refusing to step back. My heartbeat kicked hard. I followed his gaze, squinting into the wall of black pines. Nothing moved, nothing shifted, but I felt it, something was there. Something the snow was hiding, something the night was swallowing. I took a step forward. Thor growled, low, warning, a sound he'd made only twice in his life, both times when danger was close enough to touch us. "Boy, what do you see?" His body leaned forward, muscles tight, his tail lowered, his breath quickened. The sound that left his throat wasn't fear. It was alarm, and that's when it happened. A flicker of light deep inside the woods. Not bright, not steady, as if someone far away was moving a lantern through the trees. I blinked. It vanished, then appeared again farther right, then left, then gone completely. Thor's growl deepened. He took a single step off the porch. "Hey, no." I grabbed his collar, but he pulled hard. Something out there had his full attention, something he recognized, or something he feared. "Thor, stop." He tore free. He bolted across the snow, paws kicking up white powder behind him, heading straight toward the forest. No hesitation, no pause, no looking back. "Thor!" I ran after him, boots slamming against the frozen ground, the cold burning my lungs. The flashlight inside the house was too far now. I only had the moonlight and my fear to guide me. Halfway across the field, Thor stopped. Not at the edge of the woods. Inside them. He stood between the first two trees, body stiff, head low, staring deeper into the forest, into the darkness, into something I still couldn't see. The wind twisted through the branches, carrying a sound with it. Not an animal, not the storm, not imagination. A whisper, a voice calling from the woods. And it wasn't calling my name. Thor looked back at me once, just once, eyes wide, urgent, begging me to understand. Then he stepped deeper into the forest. And I knew. I didn't have a choice. I had to follow him, because whatever he saw out there was waiting for me too. Agora entramos no corazo do misterio. The moment I stepped under the first pine, the world changed. The sound of the ranch behind me, the wind against the house, the distant hum of the generator, the warmth of Christmas lights inside. All of it vanished like someone had closed a door. Inside the forest, the air was heavier, colder, too quiet. Thor's paw prints were the only guide I had, stamped deep into the fresh snow in long, determined strides. He wasn't wandering. He wasn't chasing a deer. He was searching. And whatever he was searching for, he knew it was real. "Thor!" I called, my voice swallowed by the trees. "Boy, wait!" A soft crack echoed deeper in the woods, like a twig snapping under someone's weight. I froze. My breath plumed in front of me like smoke. The forest was alive, but not with animals, with presence. A presence watching. My flashlight beam, grabbed from my coat pocket before running out, cut weakly through the darkness. Branches swayed, snow fell in slow, quiet cascades, and the moon filtered through gaps in the canopy like silver knives. Another sound drifted through the trees. A voice. Soft. Fragile. Close. Please. I turned sharply toward the sound. Who's there? No answer. Just a long, lonely silence broken only by the wind whistling through pine needles. Thor barked again, farther ahead now. A single bark. Urgent. The kind of bark that meant, come now. Right now. I pushed forward, weaving through thick trunks and ducking under low branches. Snow soaked into my jeans. My boots slipped on hidden roots. The cold bit deep into my fingers despite the gloves. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. I reached a small clearing where the moonlight broke through the trees in a pale, eerie glow. And there he was. Thor stood perfectly still at the center of the clearing, staring at something on the ground. His breath came fast. His ears were pinned. His tail was stiff as a board. Thor, what is it? I approached slowly. Then I saw it. Footprints. Human ones. Deep. Fresh. Leading deeper into the woods. Not a child this time. Not small. Not scattered. They were the footprints of an adult. Heavy, uneven, one dragging slightly. Someone had been out here. Recently. In this cold. Alone. My pulse hammered in my throat. Thor sniffed the prints, whimpered, then looked at me, eyes wide with worry. Are they hurt? I whispered, though I knew Thor couldn't answer that. But he could, because he suddenly turned, nose to the ground, following the footprints to the far edge of the clearing. The trail led between two massive pines where the branches were so thick they formed a tunnel of darkness. Thor stopped at the entrance. His whole body trembled, not with cold, with fear. He looked back at me, waiting for permission, or strength, or both. I raised the flashlight. The beam barely penetrated the blackness ahead. The footprints went in. None came out. The cold pressed on my chest. The silence tightened around me. Every instinct screamed that whatever was down there, whatever Thor had sensed, it wasn't ordinary. I swallowed hard, stepped beside my dog, and whispered, "We go together." Thor pressed his shoulder to my leg, steadying me, grounding me, then walked into the darkness first. We followed the trail deeper and deeper, the woods closing around us. The footprints grew erratic, farther apart, like the person had been running. And suddenly, they stopped, just ended, right there, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the snow, with nowhere else to go. My breath hitched. Thor growled, low, dangerous. Something shifted behind us. Branches creaked. Snow fell. A shadow moved. I spun around, flashlight trembling. And that was when, in the corner of my vision, I saw it. A figure, standing between the trees. Still, silent, watching us. Thor barked, a deep, furious sound that echoed through the forest. My heart slammed against my ribs, because the figure stepped forward, and I realized the truth was far more terrifying than I imagined. The figure stepped out from between the trees, as if the darkness itself had shaped into a person. Thor planted his paws into the snow, lowering his body, a deep growl rumbling from his chest. I felt my veins turn to ice. The flashlight trembled in my hand as the beam finally caught the shape moving toward us. A man, tall, bundled in an old winter coat, face hidden behind frost and shadows, breath ragged in the cold. He walked with a limp, his right leg dragging through the snow exactly like the prints we had followed. My voice cracked. "Sir, are you hurt?" No answer. He kept moving toward us, one slow, uneven step at a time. Thor barked sharply, warning him to stop. But the man didn't slow down. He didn't even raise his head. He just kept coming, swaying like someone exhausted, or someone who had wandered too long in the cold. "Hey!" I shouted louder, taking a step forward. "Can you hear me?" Still nothing. He came close enough that the flashlight revealed his face, and my heart sank. He looked barely conscious, eyes half open but unfocused, skin pale, lips blue, frost clinging to his beard. His lashes were frozen shut in clumps. He gasped for breath like every inhale hurt. He was freezing to death. Thor whimpered, sensing it instantly. The man swayed again, knees buckling, then collapsed face first into the snow. Damn it! I ran to him, dropping to my knees beside his body. When I rolled him over carefully, his head lolled back, breath thin and fading. Hey, stay with me. Stay awake. His eyelids fluttered. He tried to speak. Help! It came out as a whisper, a broken breath. Thor pressed his nose to the man's cheek, whining softly. He pawed at the man's coat, as if trying to wake him. I lifted the man's head slightly, brushing snow from his face. His skin was like ice. What happened? How long have you been out here? He swallowed with effort. Lost since yesterday. Yesterday. My stomach twisted. He had been wandering the forest through the storm, with no protection, no shelter, no direction. The temperature had plunged far below freezing overnight. No one should have survived that long. Why didn't you call for help? Do you have a phone? He coughed, a weak, rattling sound, and that's when I noticed the jagged tear in his coat. Inside the pocket, shards of glass glittered. Broken phone. From a fall? A struggle? I didn't have time to ask. He wasn't just cold. He was dying. And we were deep in the woods, far from the house. Too far for him to walk. Too far to drag him safely. Thor pressed harder against my side, whining anxiously. Yeah, boy, I whispered. I know. We need to get him out. The man grabbed my sleeve suddenly, fingers trembling, grip desperate. Don't leave, he rasped. I won't, I promised. But you've got to stay awake. His head dropped back into the snow, eyes rolling. No. No, no, no. I slapped his cheek lightly. Stay with me. Thor barked, a sharp, urgent sound that echoed through the trees. And that's when I noticed something else. Footprints. Not the ones we had followed. Another set. Fresh. Smaller. Leading away from the man and deeper into the forest. Thor sniffed them, then jerked his head in their direction. Someone else was out here. My pulse spiked. Is someone with you? I asked the man. He blinked through the frost, tears mixing with ice. And my daughter. A cold jolt shot through me. A child missing in these woods. In this cold. On Christmas Eve. The man's voice cracked, barely audible. She ran when I fell. I tried to find her. Thor let out a terrified whine and bolted into the direction of the fresh tracks. Thor and oh. I grabbed the man under his arms, trying to lift him, trying to think, trying to breathe. But then I looked up, saw Thor disappear into the darkness ahead. And in that moment, I understood something awful. I couldn't leave the man, and I couldn't lose the child. The storm roared around us, swallowing the forest whole. I turned back to the man whose breath was fading, while a child wandered somewhere alone in the freezing dark. My throat tightened. I had to make a choice. And either way, someone's life depended on what I did next. I stared into the darkness where Thor had vanished, his barking echoing through the trees like a desperate beacon cutting through the storm. The man in my arms was barely conscious. The child somewhere in the woods might not have long. My breath burned in my lungs. The cold crawled up my spine like a warning. Sir, listen to me, I whispered, leaning close to the man's ear. You stay awake. Do you hear me? Your daughter needs you. His lips trembled. Please, find her. I tightened my grip on his coat. I couldn't leave him. I couldn't abandon a freezing man to die on Christmas Eve. But I couldn't let a child die alone in these woods either. And Thor had chosen. He wasn't just running. He was leading, guiding, knowing I'd follow as soon as I could. I stood slowly, muscles screaming in protest. Snow slid off my coat in sheets. The weight of the choice pressed down so hard it felt like the forest itself was leaning over me. I dragged the man upward, step by agonizing step, pulling him through the snow, using every ounce of strength I had. The storm raged harder, flinging ice at my face like needles, but I kept going. I've got you, I muttered. I'm not losing anyone tonight. Halfway back to the clearing, my legs buckled. I fell to my knees, the man's body slipping from my grasp. I slammed my fist into the snow. Come on! And then, as if answering my cry, a shadow moved between the trees. Thor burst out of the darkness, snow exploding around him. His fur was coated white, his breath short, his eyes blazing with panic and determination. But he wasn't alone. A small figure clung to his neck, tiny hands gripping his collar, face buried in his fur. The child. Thor had found her. I felt my throat tighten as I scrambled back to my feet. Good boy. Good boy. Bring her here. He bounded toward me, the little girl wrapped around him like he was the only warmth she had left in the world. Her cheeks were red with cold, her eyes wide and terrified. I dropped to my knees and pulled her gently into my arms. You're safe now, I whispered. Your dad's right here. She looked over my shoulder. Daddy? I shifted so she could see him lying in the snow, barely conscious. Her breath hitched. Daddy! Her voice, that one small cry, pulled something awake in the man. His eyelids fluttered open. He lifted his hand weakly toward her. Thor pressed against both of them, whining softly, like he was holding the three of us together with nothing but his heartbeat. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to feel. I had to move. I wrapped the girl in my coat, hoisted her onto my hip, then dragged her father again with renewed strength. Thor stayed glued to my side, nudging me, guiding me, pushing me when I slowed. Every breath felt like fire. Every step felt like carrying a mountain. But the light of my porch, the warm golden glow through the storm, appeared through the trees like a star. Almost there, I whispered. Almost there. We reached the house. I kicked the door open with the last of my strength. Warmth enveloped us. I laid the girl by the fire, wrapping her in blankets. Thor lay beside her instantly, curling around her, sharing his body heat. Then I returned for her father. It took everything, every ounce of strength, every bit of stubbornness, every hope that this night could end without tragedy, but I got him inside. Hours passed. The fire roared. The storm died. The paramedics arrived at sunrise. Both the father and daughter survived. When they were carried out on stretchers, wrapped in blankets, safe at last, the girl reached out and touched Thor's head. Thank you, she whispered. Thor wagged his tail once, slowly, proudly. When the ambulance disappeared down the snowy road, I stood with Thor on the porch, the sun rising over the forest that had nearly taken everything. I looked down at him. You knew, I said softly. You knew before I did. He leaned into my leg, warm and alive. And in that quiet, golden morning light, I realized something I'll never forget. Sometimes your dog isn't staring at the woods because he's afraid of what's inside. Sometimes he's warning you. Sometimes he's guiding you. Sometimes he's saving a life you haven't reached yet. Thor lifted his head toward the forest. I laid a hand on his back. Next Christmas, I murmured. I'm listening the first time. He wagged his tail like he already knew.
Paws of history. Because every story leaves a paw print, and its memories stay with us forever.